Sorry. Let me just do it again. Sorry. That's not what we did. We said it was on.
All right. Uh-oh.
You have a clicker.
I can just. Oh, that's cute. I got it. Go ahead. Go on, girl. You're trying to Superwoman thing. Go ahead. We got
I'm
it.
in your room though. I'm in your
Okay.
house.
Oh, you in? Oh. All right. All right. Sometimes we gotta get Dr. Jazz together. She be trying to do it all. Welcome to our time together. I'm happy to share a space with y'all today. Um, Today we are talking about burnout and compassion fatigue. Let me point out something. So some of the on the next 2 days, some of the sessions have interesting titles due to all of the foolishness going on around equity and inclusion terms, right? So as you read some of the titles from some of us, notice that we've been, and Tamar was a part of this conversation too, that we've been uh, requested, not due to the organization that put this on, to change some of our titles. It doesn't mean the content will be as such. So keep that in mind. So for instance, a lot of us who are doing sessions, when you get to the room, you might see a different title because it just had to be right. So okay, I'm just um, so correct, and we will not be politically correct in those spaces. Just to be clear, like once we get there. So yeah, a little sidebar. So anyway, thanks for joining today. Before we get started, are there any things I can support with accessibility? Can everybody hear me okay? All right. Any other needs? Okay. All right. So I did have a link to the presentation, but I will share the presentation will be shared later. I'll try to pull it up at the end so you can take it with you now as well, but it was a link. Hopefully this is my most updated version. We'll see. But there usually is I put a link before presentations for sake of accessibility. If you do need that now, you can't see or you struggle to see the screen, please let me know and I'll ask somebody to help me get y'all that link sooner. Okay. Some of the community care guidelines for me, this isn't every presentation I do. There's nothing I have to say that's more important than you taking care of you. It's not a single thing. And if you think I said something that you should have heard, I'll repeat it. Ask me to repeat it. The bottom one is the most important one. Like, do not hold it. I will not. Folks in community organizer, as well as folks working in retail and healthcare workers, are number 1 and 2 for UTIs or urinary tract infections because we feel like we can hold our pee, that we're gonna miss something. So take care of yourself in this space. Um, Feel free to interrupt me. You do not have to wait till the end. I started this because I sometimes struggle to wait to the end because I have ADHD. So I encourage you to interrupt me, raise your hand, do whatever you need to do, but to share, ask a question. The goal of this presentation and any presentation is to remove barriers or create opportunities. In this case, is to opportunities to feel like we have the ability to rest and sit down. We need to sit down. It'd be us that's be doing too much at all times. So, all right. So some important things to know about me. Before I go into, I'll share a little bit. I am the treasurer for Detroit People's Food Co-op. Woo. Oh, okay. I also work for National Cooperative Grocers. That's secondary to everything else, to be clear. So today I'm DPFC. So I should ask questions. I'm happy in this space. Let me see who's here to use whatever privileges I have to extract information from NCG to help us. You don't hear me outside of here saying that because I don't know who else is going to be here, but please let me know how I can exploit other resources for your benefit. These are my parents. This is Shirley. Yeah. This is Shirley and Olivia. Important things to know, especially, for the context of the presentation, is that they don't care at all about anything I'm saying about compassion fatigue. My mother is 72. My father is 68. She was cougaring. And that generation, especially their thing, and they haven't updated their thinking, nor are they interested. But you get a lot of people from that generation. I was taught to, go depress those dishes when I was feeling down. How many people have heard those things or said those things? And all of it is based on intergenerational trauma, of course. But every time I say, I'm like, I'm going to go talk about this. And she's like, here we go. Like, there's this thing, who am I? But the other things that's important to know, my mom was one of the first classes to integrate schools at Osborne, the east side of Detroit. So her experience has been a lot different. She lost her vision in 1996. So one of her retinas detached from her eye in 1996 due to a disease called retinopathy prematurity, which she was diagnosed 50 years after she had it due to racism. I mean, without investigating, we'll say that she was finally diagnosed when she saw a black ophthalmologist, although she had been seeing ophthalmologists all her life that could have prevented her retina from detaching. And then the left eye, they did a surgery to keep it from detaching, but still, she can't see at all. Like even the shadows are gone now. My father was a Detroit cop. A whole nother presentation about that. And retired after 30 years. Then he worked for the Wayne County Morgue. He was like a CSI guy. I don't know his title, but he took pictures and top stuff. And now he is mostly at the casino or at a bar. But right, but has often struggled with alcoholism. And so, like growing up, food insecurity was I need to move. Okay. Food insecurity was a thing for us, either not having any or not having enough. But somehow, my mom was making something out of nothing. Right.
I'll just.
We decolonizing. What you need?
Maybe stop sharing, sister, and then we share.
Escape. Okay. Tamar, can you take a picture of this so I can send it to my father so he can be embarrassed? I should throw up 7 Mile, but maybe this not the time. All right.
Huh? I'm good. Okay. You can put it back up how you were sharing it before.
Okay. I don't know how I'm doing that now. Let me see. Hit it. Okay, right here. Okay. Oh.
No, wait, go back.
Make that one smaller.
Down here at the bottom.
No. It was a PowerPoint version.
Oh, it's a PowerPoint version.
Is that yours? Should be. Yeah, that should be. Okay, yeah, that's it.
Oh, hold on.
No, you.
Is it showing? Okay.
Okay. All right. So anywho, they're still around. Now it's interesting because my mom has had a stroke in November 2023. And after a while, we had to make the decision to move her into a space where she could have 24-hour care. And so she's living her best life now. Like she is living. She got a lot of people around her. She loves the staff. Yeah, a lot of East Siders, what she likes, even though we grew up on the West Side. So she she had in that space, right? But I'm also the oldest of three. These are my siblings. This is a photo of yeah. It's old, but it's cute. It's cute, but it's old. It's old. My brother got locks down to his butt now and all those things. But I'm the oldest of three siblings, right? And so my brother is 4 years younger than me, and my sister is 5 years younger than me, making me the third parent, right? And so when my mom lost her vision in 1996, I was 14, and as she knew she would be that she would wouldn't be able to see as much, and so she started, as most Black mothers do, showing me things that I would need to do. I didn't know that that's what she was that I would need to do, in her absence or ability to do. So, I'm washing clothes and doing all of those. All right, doing all those things. We back? Is it me? Okay. Okay. Keep me honest. Um, Anywho, so doing all of those things, become a parent at 14. And when my sister was 16, so at this point I had just turned, I was 20. My sister was diagnosed with leukemia, and so I had moved out at 17 because I was tired of being a parent, and I had a job and I was making like $9.95, so I was rich, so I left. Right, I moved out. I moved like a mile and a half away. I was still like borrowing groceries and stuff like that, but me and my father didn't really, get along. So I had to get on out of there. And so when my sister was diagnosed with leukemia, and because my father was, in his alcoholism, my brother refused to go to college. He had a full ride academic scholarship to MSU. And so he decided that I'm not going because somebody needs to stay here and help mom take care of my sister. So now, because I'm living a mile and a half away, I'm like, let me go ahead and move back. It was tough, it was tough. So I moved back. He could go to college. I lasted like 2 months. I couldn't do it because my father was fathering. At that point, I'm like, I don't got it in me. But I still stayed every day and made that a priority. Because my mother had lost her vision, that also made me the person that had to drive her for all the appointments, down the and my sister is fine now. Just to be clear, she's in remission. And so that made me the driver. I had to take, do a lot of appointments, filling out a lot of the paperwork because of the vision. Prior to that, my mom would like put us on a bus to take us to appointments, although my father drive, right? And do a lot of, a lot of things like that. And so at this point, I am not living, I've moved out, I'm working full time, and then working as a caregiver full time. So just keep those things in context. Other things, when I went to school the first time, I went to be a respiratory therapist, and I worked as a respiratory therapist for 17 years in the Detroit metro area, and in Chicago, and in Idaho. While I was in school to be a respiratory therapist, they do clinicals. Anybody been in the medical field before? Okay, so they do clinical shifts where during training where you work whatever. It's always hours that you don't because you don't get to pick as a student. So my clinicals were 12-hour shifts, 2 12-hour shifts a week, and I worked full time also with 3 12-hour shifts. Because in the healthcare world, 3 12-hour shifts are full time. That's 5 12-hour shifts per week, leaving one day for class and homework, and then one day to do all the things I had to do for my mother and my siblings, right? Although there was another adult that is drivable with a little bit of sense in the house. And so now going to school full time, working full time, and working as a caregiver. In 2015, I got married. In 2016, we moved to Idaho, which is a different presentation. It's a different presentation. And I still was going back, back and forth. Still, money is going to that to go back and forth, do the things I need to do there. But I started to look for a therapist when I got there, both just because I was living in Idaho, but overall things, right? It took me about 3 years to find a therapist because I wanted a Black therapist, and there were only 6 in the entire state. And so, at the time, my wife was working at the college, which gave me access to tuition at a lower cost, damn near free. It was $5 a credit hour. And so I went to school to be a mental health therapist out of spite because I couldn't, because I couldn't find one. I did end up finding a therapist, but it was hard because even though 6, because the Black community was so small, knew each other, making it a conflict of interest. Right. And so I still had to wait. I ended up finding one that graduated a year before me, and it was she was great. And that was a second graduate degree. So when I was going to school before, I was in Chicago. It was a lot easier to go back from Detroit to Chicago. Half of y'all did it last year at Up and Coming, to go to the little meetup in Chicago. But it was a regular thing to go back and forth and still do all those things. While I was in school to be a therapist, I went to Africa, a group of respiratory therapists. We went to Africa because they opened a respiratory school, and it was the only one in the whole continent of Africa. So we went down to help students. Again, I did that while I was still working full time, still going back and forth to help my mom. And now I'm in a second graduate degree program. Right. On top of that, because the Black community is so small and the queer community is small, and the queer community is actually larger than the Black community in Idaho. I was also facilitating the only LGBT youth group that supported kids experiencing houselessness, right? So all those things, and that was considered a norm. And I know many of you are doing absolute too much either. But I wanted to name all those things. I also went to Haiti in 2014 and did the same, well, after a hurricane, to help a group of Black folks. In 2020, when COVID started COVIDing, so we're the 19th wave at this point. I was finishing up the counseling degree, the mental health therapy degree. And then, they said out loud COVID was happening. We kind of knew beforehand, like December 2019. It's a little insight. But they start saying it out loud now. And so I was still working in the hospital full time as a respiratory therapist. I had an adjunct position teaching respiratory students. I was in full time class to be a mental health therapist, and I was doing an internship, right? And I was periodically going back and forth to Michigan. At this time, I had trained my siblings like, y'all gonna have to do a little more because I'm further, away. When COVID hit, I had to prepare my respiratory students to graduate early because respiratory therapists were dying at a higher rate than nurses due to COVID, right? And so we had to graduate them early and go into the ICU. I graduated from school to be a therapist in 2020, but I had a lot of guilt about leaving the hospital because it's during a respiratory pandemic. How can I leave during that time? I had a lot of guilt to do that. And so I didn't. I graduated. There was no graduation, of course, because it was 2020. I still continued to work full time in the ICUs, and I started a part-time gig, still doing therapy, like mental health therapy, because I had to get my license, right? So I wanted to name all those things. Like, it's kind of a resume, but also look at all the things that we are doing on a regular basis, and it's been normed. Right? In 2020, I was also hospitalized. I'm like, it's COVID. They about to get me out of here, and I was just tired. Like, they put me to sleep. They're like, you're exhausted. I was in the hospital for 2 days from being tired because I was just overdoing it, and my body was like, girl, no. And they kept me in the hospital. And that was the first time. It happened again in 2021 from doing the same thing because I didn't listen to my body the first time, and it set me down. Right. Your body will set you down at the absolute worst times available if you don't do it first. So that's just sharing a little bit about me. In my therapy practice, all of my clients, although small, are Black. I serve Michigan and Idaho. Half of them are community organizers or active activists, right? And then out of that group, about 75% right now are queer, right? And it's important, it comes up now because of all the things that's happening in America, but there are so many things I'm hearing in these sessions that impact all of us. I get the privilege of hearing it in sessions, but a lot of us whisper about it or don't say anything because there's so much shame involved. We always talk about weakness, and maybe that's attributing to burnout, or burnout is not real. Well, it's not true. Whether we say it out loud or not, it does not make it any less true. It's important that our wellness is prioritized for the movement, or there won't be one, right? It takes humans to do this. This is important too. Like, how many people are connected to a co-op that's not open? All right. If it becomes open, we want it to stay open, right? And you need people to do that. How many people are paid for the co-op I'm working with that's not open. It's okay. It's not you said it's nothing wrong with that. It's nothing wrong with that. But it's a reminder that a lot of us are doing these things and using our bodies and our brains for free, right? And it can't just be because we have to. It might be a need, but there's a lot of people that's going to benefit from the things that we are doing right now and giving away our time and our body and our minds for. When we talk about sustainability, it does not mean just the co-op. It means the people in the co-op need members, but we also need employees. We also need board members, and we need everybody to be alive and well and walking around to do this work. So compassion fatigue is something that's existed for a long time. All these QR codes leads to more resources and articles about compassion fatigue that specifically looks at retail spaces for co-ops. If you don't get this QR code at the end, if this is the updated presentation, there is a QR code with links to all the QR codes. Okay, so like if you don't get it now, it's okay. But compassion fatigue is just you tired from taking care of people and things all the time. To sum it up, if you Google compassion fatigue, you'll get lots and lots of pages of definitions. Please go to like the third or fourth page or put black after it or something to get more specified definitions. In the context of food sovereignty, we have the added exhaustion of community. And regardless of we say it or not, community can be exhaustion. It'd be us. Like we exhaust each other and we allow other people to exhaust us with the things we have to do. And also capitalism and white supremacy is basically the foundation of everything. we do those things. So it's important we keep those things in context. Some symptoms of compassion fatigue, more emotional than when it comes to somatic depression, anxiety, insomnia, dread on days away, and increased use of legal substances. So we've seen again, this is, I've used the data I've collected from our clients, but also there is other data out, but we know that Black and brown people participate in data less due to medical mistrust, right? Because we don't trust folks. So we compile our own data. Don't forget to download the YAMS app. The one of the things I want to point out on this, I know a lot of these things might be familiar, but dread on days away. If you are thinking about the work you have to do, volunteer or something that you punched in for, when you are not supposed to be, that's a big red flag that you are participating in compassion fatigue, whether you ask to or not, right? An example of that, like let's say you work Monday through Friday or you volunteer Monday through Friday, you can't wait for the weekend. But Saturday, you are debriefing yourself from the week before. Like, man, that was a rough week. I gotta do all this stuff. Sunday, you're like, damn, I gotta do this again next week. So you didn't really have no off day. Like the no off days have happened before. Like it's taken over. And sometimes that can have an impact outside of our work and community on our families, but more importantly, our bodies. Other somatic ways, headaches, muscle tension, my stomach hurt, no reason for it, right? And we go take something, or we find a herb to take. Sometimes it's just being tired. Like, unfortunately, it's not a diagnosis for that, because maybe we could exploit some other resources. But sometimes it could just, I'm tired, and I'm not, able to function as I once was. Some symptoms that impact the community: inability to feel empathy. We run out too. Sometimes that cupboard of empathy is barren. It's hard to continue to do it when you have to do it for yourself and you haven't recognized it. Dread about certain people or populations in the context of community organizing. Sometimes that is with youth populations and populations experiencing homelessness. Not because they're experiencing homelessness and maybe they're asking for things, or youth because they're young people, because you run out of ways to support them. Right. And so sometimes that comes out like, oh, here we go again. Maybe you don't do that face, but inwardly it's like, here's somebody I cannot support. Right. Condescending tone, microaggressions that need to come out because everything is a macro aggression at this point. Other symptoms, resistant judgment. This is amongst each other and the community. I'm doing more than you, right? You should be doing more. We're shouldn't ourselves. I should be doing more. Unintentional disrespect. Increased call-ins, that's to meeting or not showing up. This is another resource for about compassion fatigue, or probably about depression. I think that is about depression. And it's important to know, like, all the symptoms I named are also symptoms of stress. So even if you weren't doing this work and you experience those things, that can still be compassionate. It's not all about what happens in the co-op space. Some of the outcomes of the symptoms: increase quitting when you're not necessarily ready. Like, I'm gonna head out. When we see a lot of people abruptly uh, stop working for or working on a board or working on a project and it's not planned. Black people like to finish things historically. So when you see that something has happened, unless it's something like a family, emergency or something with our bodies, but when it's an abrupt quit, you're so overwhelmed that becomes your only option, right? Increase rates of abuse of legal substances, right? And before I talked about legal substances with nicotine, especially with vaping, has increased year over year, and alcohol, but now we're moving into something else. Increase mental health symptoms and fear of telling someone because stigma, right? I was diagnosed with ADHD in 2017, and it wasn't because I went for a diagnosis. Because during my counseling program, my teacher put me to the side, like, girl, like, these are the things I've noticed. I had asked for help before, and I'm not blaming my parents because they use the information that they have. But a lot of those things are not taken serious because sometimes it's looked down upon. If you say you are struggling with something, again, I said, depress those dishes. I've heard that before. I'm feeling a little sad. I'm a little depressed. Go sad dishes. Go clean your room. Like, we have those things. We have to move through it. And I've seen a lot of folks move away from that. They realize, like, oh, it's me. So now when I get folks in my practice that's over 60, it's because their kids have encouraged them to go. And they're like, I should have been came. But we've lived through all this trauma around asking for help, realizing that it's okay to accept help, and we should be benefiting from it the same way other folks benefit from it. And oftentimes we don't talk about it a lot outside. Like, we've seen over the last 5 years since 2020, we've seen an increase in completed suicides. We've seen an increase in overdoses. And you would notice, like, on social media, they'll talk about it, but nobody wants to share. They don't have to share. But when it's talked about, nobody wants to share about the reason why, because there's so much shame to it. Because anytime we need something or we have to talk about something, it might be condemned, right? And so we see people, like, struggling, but not necessarily wanting to share something, or not necessarily want to take resources from somebody else, because maybe we don't feel we're deserving, or we so used to giving everything away to people that it can have an impact on our mental health as well. Feelings of hopelessness and entrapment, like, I can't leave. If I don't do it, who will? How many people have felt that before? Yeah, look. And we do need you, Maria, just to be clear. So we can talk about maybe cutting your hours down a little bit, but let's figure out a way that we can do those things. But you do have feelings of of entrapment, like, I have to do it, whether it's due to other people or because I'm supposed to. Somebody has said because I'm supposed to. I harass, is Malik in here? I harass him all the time about how many times he's retired and have not. Like, I'm like, ain't you retired? Should you be sitting down? Like, I'm doing less. But it's important that we create a space for not only people to sit down, but so we can sit down ourselves. Like, we have to model it, especially for younger folks in this movement. Breakdowns and breakups. Now, breakups do need to happen. But a lot of times we get overwhelmed. Some of that care that we provide to other people are partners, right? And sometimes you get done, like, I'm done, like, I'm a head out, right? And sometimes maybe it was a little bit early, maybe it was overdue, and we do see breakdowns as well that impacts more than just us, right? I always say it impacts more than just us because a lot of times we care about other people more than ourselves, and it's time for us to move up to priority number one. Some of the roots, see what I did there? Some of the roots more recently is the impact from the pandemic. And again, the pandemic is still going on. It's just endemic. It's just a regular thing right now.
Just a response to what you said about you talking about somebody retiring. I didn't hear the name.
Malik, Baba Malik.
But I don't think we do well with succession plans.
Yes.
So I think if we do start looking at it now, even if we say, like, we don't do it, nobody else is going to do it. Mm-hmm. If we think about what it would look like if somebody else had to do it, even if it wasn't created.
Yes.
I think that we need to put that more in place, and I don't think we do that enough.
Yeah.
And what that would look like if that's a plan, because what I'm seeing is a lot of times we do all of this work, we can sacrifice ourselves, and caregiving can kill you, literally. And then once we do this work, 20 years from now, we're not there anymore. We end up starting all over.
Yeah.
So I think we have to really prioritize what does that look like, even now having this conversation, knowing that at some point you will not be able to do this.
Yeah.
So really consider that. And then what you want your life to look like when you aren't doing it.
Yeah.
So I am the founder and the executive director for it's called Unconditional Love Recreation Center, and I work with special needs kids and their caregivers. And my life, because my oldest son is special needs, I'm always thinking about what would it look like when I'm not here. And I can't say if I didn't have a special needs child, it would be something in the forefront.
Yeah.
Because I would consider that one day I'm gonna be an empty nester. That's not the case. So I think in this work, when we're building liberation, we have to think about what it's going to look like to live well once we're done caregiving, once we're done building in this way.
Period.
And really make steps consciously to really create it.
Sharing the table. Thank you for sharing that, Kiana. I think also, just to add to that, we also have to create those spaces where people feel like they can come into it and do this work. There was a webinar, I think it's recorded with Dr. Jessica. There was two other folks I can't remember, and she said something. This was last year. She got so many webinars. I think it was last year. She was on it, and she said, "I finally feel like I'm to a point where I know this work will go on." It was heartwarming to hear that, like somebody's done all this, this work in the cooperative space, but this has to be created for people to feel like they can step in, not necessarily feel those shoes in the same way, but still step into those shoes when we can. So I hope we all are working towards that. And full transparency, that's something that DPFC is working on. Like there has been some changes, whether y'all know about it or not. Okay, the recording is here. There has been some change. It's been, pretty. Mama Desiree, this is Mama Desiree is on the DPFC board with me, but it has. I would say radical. I have some other words that I can't say with elders in the room. But because of those changes, it's a reminder. It's a reminder about how much work needs to be done. It's a reminder that we have a duty to do some of this work again, so we can sit down, but also where we can create spaces where others can feel safe enough to come in. And the other thing I want to say, I'm on a soapbox now. As we think about our spaces, and I hear a lot of folks. Do you want to say something, sis?
No, I'm saying that.
Oh, okay. As we think about like the spaces that we want people to come into, there's a lot of conversation about, this is a safe space for this and a safe space for that. And safe spaces don't exist. We can only create first spaces, right? We don't know everybody's backgrounds, triggers, what's happening at home. So we can only do our best to make a space safer. Come on. All right. Mama. Some of the other things, these are a lot of things that, that we know. I always bring up ageism as a reminder that it can go both ways. In the space, I'm just using DPFC because I'm connected to DPFC. We are working on creating a space where young folks feel like they can come in and lead too. There is a heavy focus at DPFC to ensure Black leadership. Like we have a Black caucus to ensure that we can, bring more Black folks in. And we are working on ways where younger people can feel safe enough to join, right? And we know in the Black community, we prioritize elders more so than any other community, as we should, right? And I know we always want to be responsive and respectful to our ancestors, but also we should be creating a place for our descendants as well. We want to be here. I want to be sitting down somewhere. My hope is, go ahead, sis.
That's something I feel like I've been struggling with myself. I'm a little younger.
Yeah.
So it's like I've been trying to get kids, people my age groups to try to, be a part of co-ops and stuff like this. But it's like they more focus on like what they gaining from it versus like the actual outcome that it can actually produce in the neighborhood.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, our members focus on that too. Like the one we get, what we get if we're gonna be a member, like you a member. Like that's one to respond. You can't go ahead. But they continue as some of that is based on age and generation. They haven't the things that young people have, and young people I'm saying less than 42 because I'm 42. But some of the things they've experienced are pandemics, are school shootings, are all of these things. We're doing this for capitalism is at an all-time high. So it's a lot of those things. And so again, to be open, and by we in this case, I mean people 42 and over, to receiving some of the critiques, receiving some of their reasons why, and accepting them even if we don't understand them. In the back, and then okay.
Where they say, well, what am I going to get from this? And I asked my son, what do you get from Summer Every year, you every year.
Yep.
Okay, well, what do you get from Sam's Club?
Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah.
It's a grocery store, but we own this grocery store. Right.
And you know, they got a lot of people, even folks that's 42 over, are not used to the idea of ownership. It's a far off point. You know, we've been told that, like, you know, a lot of folks maybe that don't look like us, or folks that have been through it before had an easier way to get to it, like about how important home ownership is, but hasn't said why, right? And so, sister in the back standing up. Go ahead.
I just want to say, I'm noticing, like, now actually hearing the conversation around compassion fatigue and burnout and used to be it, I noticed that a lot of the media working for like 5 years, a lot of it also comes from compromise. When a lot of compromising is going on and you're fighting for your community and you have to settle, it causes that compassion fatigue, you know, because we care about the well-being. So, you know, we want our community and our people to have the best of the best. Why not? It's not a want, it's a necessity. They deserve the best. They deserve food, and they deserve those resources. So when you have to compromise that, whether it's for funding, whether it's for resources, like that causes compassion fatigue and burnout as well.
Yeah, period. And I think one of the ways we can not necessarily help make it go away is we need to name that before we bring people into doing this work. Like, oh, you'll be good at that. We tap people to come. I was tapped to come and or volunteer to apply for board. But I need to know, like, tell me more about it. I don't know enough, and we need to be more honest about it, or say we don't know how much it will take, or that we will be compromising. Kiana.
So I was going to say, I know sometimes we get triggered by people asking what do I get, but sometimes I think that Black folk have been doing a lot for nothing. That the new generation is okay with asking, well, what am I going to get? Because my time is valuable. We talk about this healing and therapy. You're learning more to value yourself, your time, what you do, your gifts. So I think that ownership is something that you get. Knowledge you get, education you get, and you give it to people in a way that they can digest it to really feel good about it. I don't think there's anything wrong. And as a caregiver, I have done so much because I'm like, I have such a great heart, you know, and I just want to help, and I want to do all these great things because I love my people. And I do, but they got on my nerves, and I step back.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then I feel like some of the reasons that you do experience compassion fatigue is because a lot of times right now we do a lot for a little bit.
Or nothing.
Or nothing at all. And we have to start requiring to get, you know, what we are, what we're worth, so that we can take care of things.
Yeah.
You know? For instance, I'm listening to your story. If you had a certain amount of money, you could have paid some people or trained them and have somebody come in, you know, be able to apply for a care at home or something, so that it takes something off your back. We're not required to bring ourselves down just because I'm helping someone. So I think if we start to reframe, what will I get, and really show, like, you know what, because you are worthy. If we saying that all these great people, we telling our community they worth all this, I'm worth it too. And I guess it's important that we name this is what you're gonna get, and whether that's financial support in your family, whatever that is, have that listed somewhere so that we can really actively support our community.
Yeah, and I think thank you for sharing that, Kiana. I think too, as co-ops that are not open or new, it's not a lot they're going to get that's financial or things like that. We know that co-ops aren't profitable usually till year 10 and things like that. But thank you for sharing that, Kiana, and bringing it into the space, Maria.
So I'm just going to say I agree with everything everyone said. There's a different and at the Fun People School Club, when you come in, we have over 4,000 members, and we have them posted on the wall. So when young people come in, it's a different sell to them. They were like, "Oh, I don't know what that is." So you have to. There's a different mindset that you have to make for a younger person than an older person. And they were like, "Oh, I didn't know what that is." It says sport. I know about her.
Yeah.
Last time I checked, last week it was 4,378 people.
Okay.
That's how many as Gabby said, they'll say the young people, what I get, stop. Oh, what I'm gonna do.
You got to teach about that. It ain't just the young people either. Like,
So that's what we do.
yeah, it's not a lot. You know, to be honest, it's not mostly young people that's asking what I get. Because a lot of people want to be a part of something. You know, free.
I'm 53.
Mm-hmm.
And thinking of the age, so I was raised to own, not to rent, not to lease, help your people, but not to the detriment of your own spirit and soul.
Mm-hmm.
And I really don't know how to put this in words, but just hearing the generation go back, I really think taking time to sit and say, with different age groups to kind of share. Because when I was growing up, we were taught to sit and listen, not to interrupt. So it might sound harsh, but you listen and you learn, you watch and you learn. I had 2 25-year-olds, 23 and 21. So I know what it's like. And my oldest is I tease him all the time. But he has balance, right? And he's someone that helps with our finances. He's an investment banker, so that helps. So while I know we don't always like capitalism, they can offer their skills in the field.
Yeah, I think everybody has something to offer.
Right.
Yeah.
In the context of talking about hearing people talk about capitalism, like it's negative all the time, and it's really not. Because at the end of the day, if our co-ops do not do well, they're not going to be open. And that's a form of financial capitalism. And we have to be honest about that. So I probably in the early days, grew up in the church.
Yeah.
Right? And we all cooperated. He didn't call it cooperation. And I think a lot of times people don't realize that they already live in a life of cooperation. And they don't, and they might say collaboration, they might say partnership, they might say the church ladies, but they're all pitching in different levels. And I just think that listen is connection with generational connection, because there's a lot of disconnect. And I remember being a teenager in the 20s, and I'm not seeing it in the work that I'm seeing the breakdown in the book.
I agree with sit and listen, but and you mentioned like younger folks sit and we're gonna go to younger folks.
I was just saying how we were raised.
Oh no, but I think it's important that there is a lot of sit and listens, and I think it's important for the elder folk to sit and listen to younger folks as well. To sit at the feet in the same way, because they got something to. Yeah. And it's a trade.
There has to be a realism that there's a reason why elders are called elders.
Oh yeah.
We do listen to our youth, and I think that's important. I work with you. But I don't have the right words, but there's a lack of respect.
Yeah. I agree. It's a lack of respect, and I think it goes.
I should be listening to
Yeah.
But you got to come in with respect and appreciation.
No. I mean, I think we understand. I think we can agree, and I think it's both. It's both and. Go ahead, sis.
What I realize is I'm always taxed because I'm a doer. And what happens is that we all need something when we're being taxed. So what I did was I created for every organization that taxed me, I created policy, and it's called the give and the ask. So what I'm looking to give, and what are you asking me for? Because some of us have our own businesses, our own individual goals and things of that sort, and you go in there with an open mind and an open heart, like this is what I need, this is what I want, and what is it you specifically automatically want me, I think it changes all of that. Well, what's in it for me, right? Let them know right up front. This is what I need from you. I need some type of professional development. I need this. Now, what do you want from me? So the policy that says give and ask normally works because that way you know what you're giving and you know what you're asking for.
Come on, segue in boundaries. Right to it. Like, did I send it to you first? Because I'm like, you said it right into it. Go ahead.
I wanted to say, through my experience working as well, and working with youth, I feel like a lot of it comes down to the language. A lot of stuff that, language is everything when it comes to communicating with everyone. But I feel like with the youth especially, because their exposure to a lot of things that us born in the 80s and stuff was not exposed to. So I feel like I'm sorry.
Late 1900s, yeah.
They're not supposed to, so the language is different. And it goes back to like educators as well. Things like equity and community equity and what that looks like and what that can mean for them and how they can play a role in it. I feel like when you have those type of vocabularies taught to them and then they follow by action to show them exactly what it is, I feel like it's more effective than sitting down and talking to someone. So if I tell a youth that, you guys own this grocery store, but I don't give them or make them feel that shit, then it's gonna cause a lack of, because to them, owner means that it's mine. Like even from a 2-year-old, you have little babies that are like mine. That means mine. So if I'm telling them this, then I need to put them in a position or create an opportunity to give them and empower that ownership.
Yeah, they believe it. Yeah.
You take part of that,
And that's creating safer spaces too. A space where we can all feel like we have a part of it. Everybody has done this slide for me already about boundaries. It's important, and in the community spaces, there are a lot of folks that have shown this. It's something I think we all struggle with. Again, even if we don't say it out loud. This is on the emails of when you get from MBFJA. Like we saying, period. This is us, and a lot of us maybe we work for an organization that we can't be this direct, which I enjoy. I enjoy, but this is the way. This is a boundary. Like I'm not about to email you right back. That's how I interpret it. Like don't wait, don't hold your breath, and it's important that we do this. Go ahead, Alana.
Sometimes, can you help me?
No.
I can't.
And that's okay. Some people, yes, you do want to explain it. Sometimes it's a no with a period, and that's it.
Yeah. Boundaries are a strategy for us to be sustainable. Right. The boundaries are a strategy for us to be sustainable. And I think that we struggle with, I don't think we were taught them. Like the boundaries I was taught growing up was about my body. Right. And about who was supposed to touch it, no space, whatever. I don't know. I can't remember the word that my parents used, but we start teaching about those boundaries before, but also we in the position to feel like we need to give or have to give, all the time. This is not the updated version, but since we're here, my boundaries were bad until 2019. I had this experience. I went to see, I met John Lewis. And yeah. And so I was afraid to go to I had no plans. I was there for respiratory stuff to talk to my legislator about oxygen or something like that. And I was walking back and the person I was with, it was a white person from Idaho. And we were walking back from the meeting and I was talking about John Lewis. And I had pulled up my phone. I was showing her a picture of him and she was like, ain't that him? And he was like walking up the stairs, and I'm like, I think so. Like you should run up to him. I'm like, no, we don't run up to elders now. That's not a thing. You should. I'm like, no, he don't bother. He was going up the stairs to the office, and eventually, she gaslit enough that I went up the stairs, not to follow him. I waited, and went to his office, and I knocked on the door, and I didn't knock on the door because all the offices are open, but I just wanted to take a picture by his door. And when I turned around to face the door, and I was going in, he opened the door, and I was crying for like 45 minutes. He was talking to me the whole time, but I couldn't get nothing out. But we had this conversation, and we talked about. I was like, he was like, "How you feeling?" I said, "I'm tired," as I'm crying. I think that was the only thing I got out. And he said, and this was a quote I took from him. This was a year before he died. He said, "This is a movement, not the civil rights movement. Create sustainability for yourself so you can keep moving and serving and pushing our community forward. We need you to be here for us in order for you to be here for us." Right. And it was then I'm just like, let me pull myself together. It took me a minute still, but that always played. Like it's in my office at home, like a reminder from that. Like you have to take care of yourself in order to still take care of the community. And he was like, we did the civil rights movement. This is a different type of movement, don't get me wrong, but the sacrifices, we made the sacrifices, so y'all have to make the same type of sacrifice. I wish I had a response to give him. I just said, yes, sir. You know, in this context, but it has always stuck with me, and I think about boundaries often. There are good resources by us. This quote comes from Nedra Tawwab. She's a Black social worker, and that wrote a book about boundaries. Boundaries are the distance at which I can love you and me simultaneously, and that's in community spaces too. This is Nedra. Oh, come on! Did y'all read it? Did y'all read it though? When I say she reads you down in that book, when you get it, it seemed like she only talking to you. I'm like, that's direct. But she also has a calendar. I look at the calendar every day. It's in my kitchen that gets me together every month. I'm like, dang, I gotta do better. And there's a flip chart. There's a workbook if you're not necessarily a reader and something you need to be more active with. And it's pretty reasonably priced. I encourage you, of course, not to buy it on Amazon, but find other places to buy it from. But it's a really good book. And she has another book about family issues, and a lot of it is based in boundaries, her boundaries work as well. But it's really good, and it's really for us. Here's some scenarios. Oh, where am I at? Let me see if I can. I got a few scenarios that I got from clients. I'll do a few. And this is about boundaries. A local funder of a white organization wants your co-op to partner so they can diversify their narratives. Well, I said narrative, but I said initiative. It's on that, but their terms don't serve your community, right? It's a thing. You know, without boundaries, you agree out of fear of losing support, but your co-op's mission is diluted and the community trust is damaged, right? Yeah. Some of these comments came from some people in this room, and some other people in the cooperative space. You respectfully decline or renegotiate, making it clear that any partnership must align with Black food sovereignty and your community's priorities. Right? They benefit from helping us as much as we benefit from their money. Right? We benefit more from help. Because you're one of the few Black organizers in a multiracial food justice, people expect you to speak for all Black community members because we're all the same. Right? Without boundaries, you go on the role of the spokesperson, which is emotionally exhausting and leaves little room for your actual organizing work. With boundaries, you remind the group that no one voice represents all Black people and advocate for creating a space to bring in more diverse Black perspectives. Yeah. We'll do one more. I need to do work. Period. We'll do this one. As one of the few experienced organizers, you are asked to take on fundraising, social media, and outreach, although there are other organizers tasked with nothing. Right. Without boundaries, you say yes to everything, but tasks slip through the cracks and your energy is drained. With boundaries, you agree to focus on one area where you can give your best contribution while encouraging the team to recruit and train others for rest. That's a difficult one. Right. Yeah. Go ahead.
I'm gonna say scenario 3 is me through and through. About 2 months ago, I was managing the deli in our co-op, and I ended up being promoted to director of community engagement.
Come on.
So I'm director of community engagement, but I'm also a board member, a worker owner, a member owner. And it's like as soon as I got into this role, everybody's like, "Whoo, here you go, girl." And I'm just like, oh no, because it's so much, and I've had to take a step back. I want to do everything. I have a lot of energy, but I physically cannot do every single day or every single thing every day. I just can't. So I've had to take a step back and be like, okay, what can I do? What can I delegate to others to where it makes sense and get the work done? But yeah, this is my life right now.
Yeah. Congratulations too. Is your manager supportive of that?
Super supportive.
Okay.
Right,
okay. Let me know. I know him. I'm gonna say something. Let me know if you want me to say something. Right. First of all, Chris. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we like. Okay. Okay. Cool. If it's changed, let us know. Let's agree with people. And then creating and sharing boundaries. Nedra also talks about this in the book. I have a slide for that. I'm gonna go over it, make it shorter. The one thing is to know what our boundaries are. A lot of us expect people to respect our boundaries, and we've never shared it with them. And we are dynamic, so we get to change. Our boundaries get to change, but it's up to us to share what those boundaries are. And that's personally in community organized space. If you at work, some boundaries. You come on. You can't say like I'm not gonna work with this person but be mindful, whatever it is, you have to share in order for people to respect. We can't have an expectation for people to be mind readers. Right? Once we know what those boundaries are and we share them, we set consequences. We have to hold people to those consequences. If you tell me like I'm not going to be able to do these 4 jobs, and if I do these jobs, if I'm forced to do these jobs, I will quit. And then you go ahead and do the 4 jobs. Right? There's some ownership, unfortunately, that has to be taken. Like, wait a minute. And I say that a lot of us don't have that the same amount of privilege as somebody else where they can say, I'm not going to do these 4 jobs, or I don't need to do that. But when you do have the privilege to be able to state those boundaries and stand on them, you should, or at least try. Like, find an area in your space when you can practice your boundaries. Right? This is important for modeling for each other, regardless of generation. Okay. Leave time for self-care. We there's a lot of talk about self-care. It's important to know that it's not necessarily a treat. It should be just a thing that we do, regardless of what that is. I think a lot of talk in media and maybe previously we maybe highlight things like I'm going to get a massage, I'm doing self-care. That could be maintenance, and all of that is based on the ability to have money to those things. Right. And so there are other ways, like one of my favorite ways to have self-care is saying no. Is like turning off my notifications to my email. That's one of my, so it can be anything. Nobody else gets to decide what that is for you. Other ways to add self-care, I'll probably say no at the end. I'm getting ahead of myself. Encouraging the hard things, dialogue about hard things, I think is one of the most important things of this list. And hard things can be anything. It doesn't have to be just what's happening in the co-op space. A lot of times we have hard things happening at home. If you feel safe enough to do so, talk about those things, because maybe what's happening at home might impact. Right? Everybody's home life is different. Kiana talked about her work with her child and with children. That might be impact in other ways. We need to know in what ways we can give each other grace or support. Right? Other thing, when we're thinking about using some of these things for self-care, it's important that we try to move away from that question of tell me what I can do, or what do you need from me to support you, and make it a statement like, let me know what you need to support, because they're sometimes asking what they need puts work on them. It's very difficult because you might not have an answer in that moment. Right? My cousin died a few weeks ago, and I got a lot of messages from people like, what do you need from me? But my people reached out like, I'm here for you. Let me know and it took so much burden off of me to feel like I have to, because people want to help. Well, some people want to help you, right? But it took a lot of burden out because I don't know what to give them, because I don't know what I need either. Right. And so sometimes changing that question to a statement can be helpful too. Yeah.
Leave room for conflict.
Yeah, all conflict ain't bad. Yeah.
That's a hard thing for most people.
Mm-hmm.
Most people have to realize conflict is going to come up.
Mm-hmm.
I do behavioral work with adults. Mm-hmm. And so that's one of the things that I share with folks is stop being scared of it and deal with it, because it's going to come up, and it's definitely going to come up in the journey that we have and the work that we're doing, but even in regular normal life. And if they just think of it like we bite our own tongue sometimes, and it hurts. But we don't kick ourselves. That's conflict. So we're gonna have conflict no matter what people. We're dealing with people, but make sure that we're courageous enough to, and strategic enough to make sure that we actually plan on it.
Yeah, I think embracing conflict too is another way we create safer spaces for people to have conversations and share needs. Thank you for bringing that into the space. Other things to know about self-care is like a lot of times we compare our success to others. Success is subjective and it also gets to change. If you ask me like what I feel, what success means to me, is as long as I'm doing something for my community. Other people be like, because I made a manager at my job, I feel successful, right? And that's okay, but we shouldn't be comparing ourselves because everybody is coming from a different space, and oftentimes we do. A thing I'm gonna mention about goals. I remember coming up and we have to write like what a 5-year plan is or what our New Year's resolution. A lot of people participate in that, but oftentimes we don't hit those goals. We don't do that resolution. We blame ourselves, like, we're mad at ourselves. But really, all our goals and our resolutions are things we own and things we can change. So it's important when you make those plans, not saying like for your co-op, but when you make it for yourself, that you do it in erasable ink or pencil or in a Google Doc where you can edit it. Because you just change it and move on. Like a lot of things are based on ages and dates. I want to do this by time. I want to do this by this day. But all those things can lead to fatigue. Right. So just know that you own your own goals. I put saying no again as a reminder. And then weighing likely stress against perceived gain. The things you might gain is more stress. Sometimes that is unavoidable. But also it's okay to step away. And sometimes stepping away, Kiana mentioned this too, like stepping away because somebody gets your nerves is helpful to the movement. sometimes stepping away or taking a break is helpful. I know when I've been on the board at DPLE since 2023, and last year when my mom had the stroke and we were trying to figure out, I took it from the board. I'm like, I'm gonna head out. Like I don't want to be replaced, but also go ahead. Like it if you need to. And the response I got was like, let us know if there's ways we can support you. And that was it. And we moved on and I came back. And so, I don't know if we're gonna have time to do this. Everybody is at risk already. We've named that 4 minutes. Thanks. But there are some things listed on the side. Raise your hand. I don't know. We don't need to do this because everybody got it. Everybody got compassion. Everybody got compassion fatigue. So we don't need to do this. I think that's. Let me see. I'm gonna skip those few slides, but this is my takeaway slide. If you don't take away anything else, take naps by mistake and on purpose, especially during up and coming. Not today. Pick and choose. Be strategic. Look at the agenda. See what's happening. See which one you can sleep through. And take care of yourself. Reclaim wellness, however that looks for you. This is not here, but therapy can be life-saving. I have to say that as a therapist. And not just from yourself, but like when the first time I went to therapy is because I wanted to kill somebody else. So because I was so, burdened. So like therapy is life-saving. There are other ways. There are tons of Black therapists in Michigan, and there are ways to find. I'm happy to help you find somebody in whatever state with whatever resources I have. Rest, care, and boundaries equals our strategies and not luxuries. This is how we sustain ourselves, but also sustain the work we are doing. Here's a link to some tests. Y'all don't need to take the test, to be clear, but we know. But this leads to a list of tests about compassion fatigue that you can use. Here are all the resources from the QR codes that are in the presentation. But if you email me, I'm happy to send you those things as well. And Dr. Jazz, you can just include this you can include the slides. Yeah. All right. Any questions in the last 10 minutes? You said something. Okay. Thanks for coming, y'all. Drink some water.